This is just getting sad now. So we've had the Juneteenth concert, a momentous occasion that will go down in hip-hop history. And now, as the chess pieces continue to move on the board and we talk about this feud and this beef and this battle between Kendrick and Drake, there's going to be a lot of questions of how does Drake ultimately respond to this? And where does Drake's legacy fall into place? And one of the most important things is, what do you drop in response? How do you move now that Kendrick has done this concert that everybody is still talking about? Well, Drake's ultimate chess move from this situation was, let's go drop 2 tracks with a pop star. That's right, I'm talking about Camila Cabello. Now listen, I was thinking about reacting to that, but there's a video from Fantastic Hip Hop that I want to check out, which entails and talks about this whole situation and Drake trying to respond to Kendrick and what these moves ultimately mean for Drake's legacy. So let's hop into it.
Now, after Drake just released 2 new songs in the form of features on Camila Cabello's new album, CXOXO, I think it's safe to say that the cycle is now complete. And
I actually started to react to one of them, and then I thought, no, this video is going to be a better idea.
After an array of weird songs that displayed to us that Drake is having an identity crisis, he finally found some sort of footing to stand on musically at the moment, but this is no longer by being one of the most overly confident rappers that we have ever seen like before the Kendrick beef, but it's now by just being a full-on pop star. And after Kendrick Lamar clearly laid out that he likes Drake with the melodies and not when he acts tough on Euphoria. If the embarrassing moments of Wagwan Delilah and You My Everything were not damaging enough in terms of cementing Drake's defeat and just showing the world how quickly the wrath of Kendrick Lamar can make somebody go from being as cocky to as lost as ever, this moment will cement everything, because between the way that Drake has come back outside in preparation for these new tracks, to ultimately how they will end up being his biggest moments in this post-beef era of his career and solidify his reputation in this current moment. All in all, in a time where Kendrick Lamar is having another victory lap off the momentum of his pop-out concert and Not Like Us video shoot. This moment for Drake, while despite making more noise for him than anything else has, it's not necessarily helping his case. Now, before we can get into these new tracks from Drake and what they are doing on Impact, we need to quickly look at how Drake has responded to Kendrick Lamar's pop-out concert, which did immortalize that Kendrick is the clear winner of this beef, as the entire rap game celebrated him like few other rappers ever have been while they can still smell their flowers. And when it comes to how Drake is responding...
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, you even have Dr. Dre dropping the I See Dead People in intro in Kendrick, an OG, an absolute legend of the West Coast. But I think what's interesting is one of his premises that he's pointing out is it seems like Drake is lost. And I've seen parallels and people commenting connections to MGK after the Eminem beef. You know, initial MGK, when he switched genres, started wearing pink and painting his fingernails all pretty, it seemed like there was an identity crisis going on. And yeah, credit to him for stepping outside the box, doing something different. He obviously killed it number-wise. We know he's come back since then. He's dropped some dope rap tracks. But that sort of identity crisis and parallels right after a beef people are making to Drake. Now, I've got some more thoughts on this because what I think is interesting is, you know, he's saying that he seems confused, but I think it's more about numbers for Drake. I think Drake is pissed off that Not Like Us is killing it as the summer hit. So Drake is out here doing these collabs and positioning these tracks, trying to make his own summer hit because he cannot live with the fact that Kendrick is outdoing him with those numbers. He has to show via the numbers because this is what Drake is about. And I think the issue is that this is how he plays right into Kendrick's hands. Kendrick's whole point is you're not really for the culture. You're using the culture to vaunt and forward your success. Well, Drake since then hasn't come out and really tried to do rap tracks or things for the cultures or maybe bringing back like some OGs in hip hop or doing things like that. He's working with pop stars, and it seems like all he's doing really is affirming Kendrick's accusations towards him because he's just showing what he values in his mind and what's important to him. The numbers, not legacy, not impact, the numbers. Drop like a dope-ass rap track. Go get like some OGs. Go get some spitters and give us that. Like for me as an MC, it's competition, isn't it? When someone says you can't do something and you're not this, you go, you know what? Fuck you. This is what I'm going to do and this is what I am. Not, okay, yeah, you're right. But hey, I'm going to outsell you. I'm going to, yeah, check the numbers, huh? It's an interesting thought process, man. I mean, actions speak louder than words. And the action so far from Drake, well, let's keep going with the vid.
The rappers ever have been while they can still smell their flowers. And when it comes to how Drake has responded, it's clear that this massive moment struck a nerve with him because from the cryptic story posts that have been trying to create some sort of buzz around his name despite the barrage of rappers we just found out absolutely despise him, it's clear that with weird story post after weird story post, Drake has been trying to get any sort of point on the board that he can through any means possible right now, and even further than just some of the cringy selfies and random pictures that are hinting at something. What really turned a lot of eyes was when Drake voted on a poll this week about which diss tracks were the best during the feud between him and Kendrick, and according to the user's poll, who was called the Good Rap Page, which shout out to him,
What?
Drake voted for Not Like Us, but
What?
beyond Drake actually admitting defeat on an Instagram poll. At the end of the day, what matters most and what will be judged the most importantly is what goes on behind the microphone. So with these two new songs, after a
That's wild.
period where Kendrick Lamar just united what feels like the entire genre behind him and everything he has stood for this year in hip-hop, how does Drake respond? Does he show that despite what feels like a genre and reputation that is collapsing more and more with every single moment, that he is still not going to go down without a fight? Or does he only manage to let everything continue to crumble on him even more, and in typical Drake fashion in this era? You probably guessed it, he is only further destroying his credibility within the hip-hop space because this song is just proving that everything Kendrick Lamar did again.
DJ Bedsprings, bring him back. We got another club album incoming from Drake.
Him worked, and he really got Drake to step out of the hip-hop space as a whole for the time being. And now if Drake maybe came with a melodically driven hit song that was as infectious as something like One Dance, maybe the conversation could start to shift, and Drake could really set the precedent that despite getting a loss handed to him, he can still release undeniable hits that you cannot deny their greatness. Both of these tracks fall short of any of these expectations, and in all honesty,
That's what I mean, though. I think even if he gives you that hit, that's still not doing anything to rebuttal Kendrick's ultimate premise against him.
these songs
Because he's just focusing on the hits and the numbers, not about legacy and respect and homage and impact upon the hip-hop culture.
aren't just a miss, but they sound like cuts that are serving as a direct extension from Drake's most polarized
It just feels like distractions, doesn't it? Like just distract and detract elsewhere.
and panned album, which was, of course, honestly never mine. So with the major song in this bunch, which is titled Hot Uptown, this is the cut that was designed to be the massive hit with Drake and Camila Cabello going back and forth over an up-tempo dance beat, and while in a vacuum, this is a decent track that you can throw on and it will definitely give you some good vibes. This song offers absolutely nothing at all that you'd call genuinely special and just gets by from doing the absolute bare minimum and playing to the most simple of conventions when it comes to what makes a palatable song to throw on the radio, a speaker, or in a clothing store. And if this is the
Yeah, I mean, it was a summer single. It was a summer hit. I heard it.
bar, then great, Drake succeeded. But if this song is
I'm not going to knock Camila, man.
trying to be a statement and even an answer back to Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, which has become the song of the summer at this point, and if this track is trying to remind us, not just to greater audiences, but to the entire hip-hop community especially, that Drake really is this undeniable force that should be in the conversation with somebody like Kendrick at all. Unless we determine greatness by whose music would play the best at Target, this song fails on all fronts, and with the other cut ugly,
Shots fired at Tarjay!
this is nothing but an interlude from Drake, which just
Yeah, this is on target.
features his whining singing, which has him talking about the same old tired topics about how he loves a girl, she doesn't love him back, and that it is making this almost 40-year-old man sad that he can't find something within these superficial relationships. And again, with this being the best that you have to offer at this moment in time, especially after you were just called out for being so immature despite your age, it really just proves that Kendrick never has to do any
Yeah, it's not like a mature reflection of a relationship like we got in the recent J. Cole track that we broke down. Obviously, we trolled him for Grippy because that was more like immature, and it's like you're this age and you're rapping and talking in this way, but then he gave us more of that thoughtful, soulful, realistic look at where he is and his maturity, and it aged well, that track. Drake didn't give us that on this. It's just more of that shallow, yeah, it's a hit, yeah, it sounds good, We got the melodies, we got the rhythms, but you start thinking about the lyrics, there's not really a lot deeper there. We're not soul searching on it, are we?
So immature despite your age. It really just proves that Kendrick never has to do anything in this beef again if he does not want to, and that he needs to be dismissed from the conversation about what is going on with Drake as a whole right now, because
I think he'll reference it in an album. I don't think we'll get a full-on Drake-related track anymore. He knows he doesn't need to do that, but there'll definitely be some references or some metaphors or some things sprinkled in throughout his next album.
Drake is bringing all of these problems onto himself as he is trying to get away with the absolute bare minimum and is moving in directions that are only further validating the biggest disses that Kendrick threw his way. When we look at it from this angle, in all honesty, it's a perfect fit that Drake decided to drop off not one but two features on this very album, because just like Camila Cabello, Drake is an artist who is trying to desperately search for an identity at the moment, and both are just failing to capture any of the magic that their older music had to their respective audiences as they step further and further away from what made them special in the first place.
Whoa.
And now, while this is only further dampering Drake's abysmal music,
They both is going after Camila too.
batting average this year with a few songs that just sound like a step up from the just laughable majority of cuts on Honestly Nevermind. The timing of a song coming out like this right now is horrible, and the optics of it all is just terrible, because after Kendrick Lamar showed off that he is the sheer
I agree with that. I mean, the thing we have to keep in mind, right? Like an artist drops something and the fans react, and we all react like they just wrote it, recorded it, and laid it out like a couple days before. Well, you have to appreciate, especially the music industry. I mean, more or less me, like an independent artist, like it's probably like a 6-month delay before I put out something I've written, because it takes time. You know, you conceptualize a music video, you go and film it, you figure out how you want to promote it, when you want to release it. Also, the way that streaming sites work, like if you want to pitch it to Spotify's algorithms and editorials, which is huge as an independent artist, like trying to get more streams, you got to upload that 4 to 6 weeks in advance. So you got to be like well out and well prepared. And labels know this, and they have their own practices. So like, you know, label tracks, I mean, artists might even be a year out. They might be 2 years out of things. You just don't know. There's a lot of things that are well premeditated in advance. So I guarantee you, I would probably put money on that this was recorded before the Kendrick and Drake beef. And this was slated to come out because it's not even in Drake's control. It's on Camila's side and that album's side, and they want to push it for the summer. So they've timed it to drop it in the summer as a summer single. And this was done probably even in the winter or early spring, right? So it's kind of hard to react and gauge, like, is this truly Drake's response to the situation? Because, again, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know how far in advance this stuff was planned. But optic-wise, I agree. It does not look good from an optics side of things and perspective.
And the optics of it all is just terrible.
That's when you call an audible. That's when you start getting on the phone. You start going, hey, maybe we shouldn't drop this now. Maybe I need to do something. Go do like a freestyle or something, right? Or go do a cypher. I don't know. Do something different. Get your own shit out there. And then you can start dropping these summer singles too. Compliment, not to piss off the other artists that you're working with. But, you know, there's ways around it, what I'm getting at the same time.
Because after Kendrick Lamar showed off that he is the sheer embodiment of hip-hop, as he brought unification into the genre like few other rappers ever had, Drake is running away from rap as a whole and is now just hopping on generic trends with pop artists? I mean, when we look at all of this in conjunction, with each passing week, moments like these are only making Kendrick's words age better and better, and are really turning a song like Euphoria into this immortal piece of music that, beyond being one of the best rapping displays the genre has seen in a very long time, served as this breakdown of Drake that's only seeming to foreshadow more and more of his failures in ways that we have never seen before. Now, what I honestly think is most interesting about this entire song is what it represents for the direction Drake is going to be going in for the rest of this summer. Because with the way he has been moving online, to the way it's so clear that he's still trying to fight back with Kendrick in his own sad ways, I think it's inevitable that he will only release more.
Like I said, I think it's a pride thing. I think it's an ego thing. I think it's a numbers thing from Drake's side, what he's trying to do right now.
Music from here, but I think these
I don't think he's seeing the bigger picture of it all. I think he's really got tunnel vision on the whole situation.
songs are proof that at least Drake is going to be staying away from rap for some time, and with everything he has been leaning into, I'm going to make a prediction that we're going to end up getting another project like Drake's Honestly Nevermind, and maybe even a full-fledged sequel, which his entire purpose will be to shift the entire narrative around him in this moment and give people those summer vibes that may help them forget about how scathing Not Like Us is. But if this project is anything like these songs, I don't think this, or really any project from Drake, will do anything right now to help him, and while if he was smart, he would have just went
El Drake
to hiding. It's clear that this spiraling individual who cannot stay out of the limelight because his whole worth seems to be based off optics and the impressions of others will only continue to risk hurting his reputation more and more instead of taking time to do the one thing that may just help him out in the long run: sitting down and reflecting. So let me know.
Take a breath.
What do you think of these new...
But I think that's the difference that started to shine through as the battle continued on, right? And I even got comments on this channel. You start to see sort of the way I'm breaking things down and what I'm reading into start to change as the battle wears on, because you could start to see Kendrick's artistry shine through and the flaws in Drake's artistry start to get more and more revealed, right? I think Kendrick is always concerned about the art first and the timelessness of the art, and that's what he does as an artist. And he moves on his own time frame, right? And he's creating that purity of art, whereas you have Drake, who doesn't necessarily move just for the art. He's not... His priority, he cares about being an artist. I'm not going to say he's not, but his priority as number one in terms of his priority list is very different than Kendrick's priority list. He's not putting his art first. There's a lot of times it just feels like Drake is putting numbers first, and he's always moved that way. And yes, he works his ass off. He puts out a lot of content, but there's also times when he's put out a number of questionable content and albums when it's like, Drake, maybe you should step back and think these things through instead of just continue to drop. It's like he's addicted to the numbers, addicted to those successes, and he's kind of lost the forest from the trees. But I think optics-wise, if you drop First-Person Shooter with J. Cole and you start talking about the big three, you have all these braggadocious lines about being one of the greatest rappers of all time, and you're talking in this way and how you're projecting yourself within the culture. Then you have this high-level battle, right? After that high-level battle, yes, what you release and drop is going to be very important for how people reflect upon now your status, because a lot of it has been called into question. It's almost like you opened up the can of worms, it popped out, you didn't like how it was, and now you just want to act like that didn't exist. And we're just going to distract people and drop summer singles and summer hits that people can sing along to. We're going to branch out to other audiences, maybe some who haven't even followed the beef. And we're going to continue just to distract in this way. But you're the one who was an initiator of this situation and talking in this way. And now that the battle has gone on, you don't want to finish the war. You don't want to see it through. Give us some more rap tracks. Give us some more of that side of things. Show us what you're really about. Stand on business, 10 toes down. That type of vibe, because that is what often gets respected within hip-hop, right? Being that gladiator warrior mentality and fighting your corner, standing on what you believe in. But it just seems like, yeah, there's just a huge shift and a huge optics change from Drake's camp. And I don't think it's the smartest move, even from a business side, following this battle. But what do you guys think of the situation? Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Have you heard the 2 tracks on the album? What do you think of the album? What do you think of those tracks? What do you think of those features? Let me know, guys. I love you. Stay safe, stay positive. Swollen Knox Hill. Also, subscribe, notifications on. Support the channel. You know, I'll catch you again.